Hi, I'm Leslie, the Geek Mama, and today I'll share with you our 4 requirements for a learning space for our kids. We are in our second year of homeschooling our 3 active little boys. Homeschooling was not something that we planned to do, but it's something that we've come to love. Even on the difficult days, we know that it's the right choice for our family. When I was thinking about homeschooling and contemplating whether it was the right fit for us, and even after I decided that we were going to homeschool, I always just assumed that we would have a dedicated learning space, kind of a schoolroom for our kids. Um, it seemed to make sense to me to have a place to keep all the things and kind of a center spot for all of our learning activities. Uh, it made sense to me. You know, we have dedicated spaces for cooking and for sleeping, and even craft rooms for crafting. So why not have it? Why not have a space for our kids to focus on their learning? So I was surprised to see the level of controversy that seems to surround whether or not people should have a schoolroom for their kids. Uh, I I knew that some people didn't. As a matter of fact, I knew a family that homeschooled and they didn't have a special schoolroom. They basically learned at the kitchen table. Um, so sure, that's an option. Why not? I just didn't think it was an option for me. But I was surprised that there were people that kind of have some passionate feelings about this. And I'm laughing at this a little because I think it's something that's a little bit silly to be so passionate about someone else's learning space, or really what anybody else does for their family. That's both legal and moral. Why get bothered about what choices other people make for their families? So I think it's a little bit silly. But it did make me feel bad when I read some of the negative things online as I was doing my research. Some of the negative things that people think about moms that choose to have a schoolroom. Things along the lines of, like, oh, these silly moms are so naive. They think that they need to have a schoolroom. They're never going to be there anyway. And oh, these moms who are trying to recreate school at home, don't they know that that's what we're trying to get away from? Things like that. And it made me feel so dumb. I thought, oh my gosh, have I been looking at this the wrong way? Am I spending money on desks and shelves and decorations for no good reason? Have I just gotten caught up on the idea of all the schoolrooms I've pinned in Pinterest that look so beautiful and inviting? Have I just gotten all caught up on that? So I stopped, thought, let me think about this again. Did I really make the right decision? Or am I focused on the wrong thing? Instead, I decided, let me step back and look at my requirements for a learning space, whether it's on the living room floor or at the kitchen table or in a special room just for schooling. Um, so that's what I'm going to share with you today, are my 4 requirements for a learning space for my kids at this particular season of life. Um, like I said, I've got 3 young kids. When we started homeschooling last year. That was our first year. And my oldest was going into first grade, and my youngest was just a year old. So in this season of life, my requirements will be different than if my kids were 5 years older, 10 years older. It'd be kind of a different situation. So what I'm sharing with you are my requirements for learning space for my particular family in this particular season of our lives with small children. All right, my first requirement for a planning space was a learning space was for my kids to have a proper desk. There were a couple of reasons for this. The first reason was I thought a desk would be most helpful as my kids were learning to write. When my oldest, went to kindergarten at our local public school, and so he did, the little bit of homework they sent home, mostly at the kitchen table. And then my middle son, who was 3 at the time, he liked to also, when Michael was doing his schoolwork, Cruz also liked to sit at the table with him and do coloring or whatever activity I gave him to do. And I could see that that wasn't an ideal situation for them. Sometimes they had to sit on their knees on their chairs to be able to really see what was going on the tabletop. Um, it wasn't comfortable for them. Uh, I thought, Dad, this is no way for a kid to learn how to write. We need something that's more for something that accommodates their size better. So I moved them to a play table that we had already, and it was actually the table that they ate at. Um, and that didn't work either because while it was okay for them to have a couple of plates on, there wasn't enough room for them both to have, you know, papers and markers and for them to actually be doing anything there. It was they start fighting over the space and getting nosy in each other's stuff, and that just wasn't working out. So when we decided to homeschool, I knew I would want them to have their own separate workspaces that were sized more for them, or at least where the chair was sized for them. Another reason I wanted them to have a desk was because one of my long-term homeschool goals for them, which I shared in a previous video, one of my goals for them was to develop good work habits and to be able to keep an organized workspace. And so for them each having their own desk would just further that goal I have for them. It's hard to organize your own workspace when you don't have a workspace to begin with. That's not used for a lot of other things. So I knew I wanted them to have their own desks. Okay, my second requirement for learning space was storage. There's the obvious kinds of storage. We have books and learning games and puzzles and curriculum that we'll use in the future or that we've used in the past and are saving for other kids. Also with young kids, preschool age, there's a lot of manipulatives involved. I don't have a crazy amount of manipulatives, but I do have enough. There's pattern blocks and counting bears and lacing cards, bristle blocks, and just all sorts of things. So I knew I needed to have enough space to store all those things, and then also to have proximity to that space while we were doing our schoolwork. I didn't want to have to leave the room to go get a book or get a pencil or get some kind of learning toy, because if you don't have 3 little boys, let me just tell you, the minute you turn your back, things go insane. And I knew if I had to do that even just once a day, that I would lose control really quickly, and then it would take some time to get back to what we were doing, and get back to kind of what we had planned for that day. And so just for my own mental health, I decided, I need to be where all the things are. We need to do our schoolwork where all the stuff is. And really, isn't that why people have a craft room? Isn't that why we have kitchens? We want to be able to do that activity where we have all the things stored. So I wanted our learning space to have space, not just for desks, but also for all the things that we would need to store there. My third requirement for a learning space was for it to be out of sight. Because let's face it, learning is hard work. And I know that as homeschoolers, we all like to talk about how play is the work of childhood. But the truth is, play is play and work is work. Sometimes play isn't work, and sometimes work isn't play. Sometimes work is just work, and that's okay because God created us to work. I firmly believe that. You see that just in small kids. They want to do what their parents are doing, even if it's schoolwork. Even if it's housework, even if it's yard work, they want to do what they see their parents or their older siblings doing. They were created to imitate like that. So I don't feel bad about calling their schoolwork actual work. Because here's the thing, they're not going to like all that schoolwork. Even if we try to make a game out of something, that's not always going to go well. I have learned that with my kids. Sometimes you just got to say, I know this isn't the most fun, but this is just something that needs to be done. And we're not going to spend a long time about it. Let's just get it done. Let's just do it and get it done. Sometimes it's just like that. For my kids' mental health, I didn't want that to always be in their face. I don't want them to be going about the day and then see the all about spelling board, every time they turn around and think about how I hate spelling. I just didn't want that for them. I also wanted to be able to leave a mess if required. I mean, we clean up our schoolroom pretty much every day before we leave, but I if we needed to leave the room for, like, there was a knock on the door or we needed to go eat lunch or whatever, I wanted to be able to leave a mess without having to clean up all that stuff so we can do some other activity. So for those reasons, I wanted the schoolroom to be out of sight. And let's not forget that I wanted it to be out of sight of my older kids, but also my younger kids. My youngest is 2 now, and he is into everything. He gets this crazed look in his eye and just starts running around grabbing things. It would have driven me crazy if I had to deal with that all day long. I mean, I don't even like putting things in the bottom cabinets of my kitchen that I know is going to attract him, because I just can't handle that all day, every day. So I wanted the schoolroom to be a place that just out of the way, where my youngest especially couldn't get into all the time and mess things up and drive me insane. Just don't want to go crazy, My fourth requirement for a learning space was an area for my little ones to play. My oldest, when we started school, was in 1st grade, and this year he's in 2nd grade. He can't do, he needs to have me nearby. I can't just send him off to do his work and then him get it all done. Also, he just likes to be near me, my little baby. He likes to sit next to me and do his work. At the same time, my youngest, when we started school, homeschooling, he was just a year old. I couldn't just send him off to play by himself. And really, truth be told, I couldn't send my middle son off by himself to play either at that point. So we needed to have space for everybody, where everybody was, more or less happy to do whatever they had to do during learning time. So those were our 4 main requirements for a learning space. When I took all those things into consideration, it felt like a dedicated schoolroom was the best fit for us. So that made me feel better about my decision. It wasn't just I'm looking at Pinterest boards and saying, "Oh, that's amazing, I want a schoolroom like that." No, I thought it through, and it was the best fit for us. They love having a space really that's just for them. One of the things that my oldest loved about kindergarten was just what a happy place his schoolroom felt like. His teacher did a really good job of making it seem happy and friendly for kids, and I wanted that for my kids at home as well. I think that's a responsibility we have as moms, to create an environment in our homes. Managing our households isn't just about making sure things run efficiently or cleaned or whatever. It's also about creating a beautiful environment for our families. A beautiful environment for our families, not just people who come over whom I see pictures on Facebook, but creating a place where our families want to be, where our husband enjoys it, and where our kids feel comfortable, and where they look around and see things that put a smile on their face. So I wanted that for them, and I feel that we've done that in the schoolroom. It's kind of a bright and happy place. It's got lots of windows, so normally get a lot of light. And it's, even though we, work is hard and schoolwork is sometimes difficult, and sometimes there's some character development that we need to do in the schoolroom, it's still in general a happy place. When we come up the stairs to do schoolwork, they are happy to be here. Now we do schoolwork in other rooms of the house. Last year, our first year of homeschooling, I had a nice big comfy chair in here, and that's where we did our reading, and that worked really well for us. But this year I decided to do things a little differently, and anything where we're just reading, like the phonics work or reading books for history or science, we do that downstairs on the couch, or sometimes on the floor with the pillows surrounding us, or sometimes even in bed at night. The kids like to cuddle with me before they go to sleep, before they go to bed, and we'll cuddle up in the bed and read a book. So that's worked well for us. Any laptop work my oldest is doing now, like typing, or when I've had him do Minecraft projects for history, that happens down in kind of the planning area that's off the kitchen. There's a desk there with a plug, and so we keep the laptops there. So he does laptop work downstairs, and anything messy that we do, let's say for art or history, we do either in the kitchen or outside. So we do schoolwork in other areas. My kids aren't just up in the schoolroom all the time, really, maybe just a couple of hours a day. and that includes cleaning up, depending on how attitudes are that day. But really, it's just a couple of hours. We do at least another hour's worth of schoolwork in other parts of the house. And I feel that that's very true to life. Rather than feeling like I've recreated school at home, I feel like I've created an environment that is sustainable, and that a method of doing things that my kids will do when they're grown. When they're grown up men, they'll probably have a desk that they sit at to do seat work. They'll probably enjoy reading in a nice comfy chair on the couch or in bed. They'll probably do messy things outside or in the kitchen, even when they're grown up. And that's kind of the system that we have going in place right now. So I feel like not just that gives them an opportunity to be at different parts of the house and to kind of mix things up a little bit, but it shows them really later on in life how to do things. When they're on their own, they know to do messy things in the kitchen or outside. They know to do seat work in a seat at a desk. So that's how we decided to have a schoolroom. I hope that was helpful to you as you think about whether or not you want a schoolroom, or as you think through what requirements you have for a learning space. If you like this video, please like it, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you want more nitty-gritty details about my homeschool journey. And until next time, see you later. Bye-bye.